Financial disclaimer. The information provided in this stream is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional financial or investment advice. We are not licensed financial advisors, and the content presented here is based on our personal opinions and experiences. Investing in stocks and other financial instruments involves risk, including the potential loss of capital. Any investment decisions you make are solely your own responsibility, and you should conduct your own research and consult with a qualified financial professional before making any investment choices. The content we share on this stream may not be accurate, complete, or up to date. Market conditions and financial regulations can change rapidly, and we cannot guarantee the accuracy or reliability of the information presented. We do not endorse or promote any specific stocks, companies, or investment strategies. Any actions you take based on the content of this stream are at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses or damages that may occur as a result. Always remember that past performance is not indicative of future results, and no investment is guaranteed to be profitable. Make informed decisions and consider your risk tolerance before investing any funds. By accessing and using this stream, you acknowledge and agree that we are not responsible for any investment decisions you make as a result of the content presented. You are encouraged to seek advice from qualified financial professionals for personalized guidance. Please invest responsibly and only with money you can afford to lose.
Hey man, just found the next guaranteed multi-bagger.
Hey man, you found another one? What is it this time?
Come check this out.
Okay, next please. How can I help you, young man?
We want to go all in on save. We are confident that this merger will go through because we have asked the spirits and they have told us this can possibly fail.
Well, that's fantastic. A really smart decision, young man. We can put that check and it's gone.
Hey everybody, welcome to the stream. Hey Dane, how are you?
Everybody? Hey, how you doing?
What about that save, huh?
It's brutal. That's really what that is. Yeah, but this is the kind of risk I feel like that comes up when you mergers are tough and things can block them. And I don't know. That's a tough one. That was a huge drop, like without much kind of heads up, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And we have seen in other companies also, like government interfering is bad news sometimes.
Yes. Government interference can really shoot down your thesis, BNED.
Yeah. No, but I saw some names in Saved. Some people that we follow talked about it, and they talked about how it surprised them and that they really thought it would go through. So it was a bit surprising and a big drop, but I saw it was a bit up again now.
Yeah, I think the tough part is, well, I mean, it was probably oversold just in terms of the business, but there is obviously a worry that Spirit's gonna, go bankrupt at some point. And airlines are tough. A lot of those like low cost airlines. I don't know how it is like in Europe, but in America at least, they're like really thin margins on all that stuff. And the they always say it's just ass and gas. That's how you try and make money on planes, which is just talking the weight of what the plane has to move. But yeah, it's tough. And this is why every time I see someone say like a thesis and they're always like, well, it could get bought up or it could merge, and which would benefit or it could split. Yes, those are all true, but unless like it's really gonna for sure happen, this is how you can kind of get smacked on these things. And even I think I understand why some of the people were in this merger, because it did look pretty good, but antitrust can come out of nowhere, and it's strange what they choose to block, what they choose to let through. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how you determine on an industry, besides obviously there's probably a panel that lobbies to you, but like, I don't know. It's I get it. It's a long shot, and I guess that if you're going to do something like that, because it can move so quickly, you just have to make sure whatever percent you put into something like that. Like if that's how I was going to do it, it would only be like a few percent or something like that. So if it did have a 50% drop, it wouldn't kill you.
No. Was this on your radar before? Because I didn't have it on my radar. I didn't see it before this happened.
I had watched it, and I was kind of following the news story lightly, but just because, you know, I get it. They, you know, say it was a distressed airline, so that's probably why people more in our realm were following it just off that. But like I said, you can pretty much take it off my radar if it comes to just it has to merge or something like that, unless like the news is almost, which probably seemed almost guaranteed to some people, but like I just don't know enough about it to say for sure. Like I think this is going to happen. Like I don't have enough confidence. And like I said, similar with my style, I'm going so heavily into these positions. One of the ways I have to manage my risk is with a stop loss. And if something can drop 50%, you know, like in pre-market, and I don't get a chance to get out there, I can't take that loss. I can't take a 50% loss. So for me, that's not something I would even get into just on that. And sure, this could happen potentially with another stock I'm in. I get that, but you know, I would think that whatever it is, you know, that I guess it's a risk you have to take. But usually something I'm in is not going to drop that quickly. You know, that's another reason why I'm so kind of strict on our margin of safety, just because I'm trying to get into things already when they're cheap. So if they do start to trend down, you know, the news, I guess it's just a risk you take, you know?
Yeah. No, it sucks. And I guess we have both been in stocks that has had big drops overnight, and it's not a cool experience. But like we have talked about in the past now, it's like you're gonna be wrong also. It's part of the game. The thing is you need to continue.
Yeah, well, especially in investing, you know, and this is, you know, as soon as you start investing, you know, you learn right away that it doesn't matter if you're right. You can be right, and the market still thinks you're wrong, and because of that, you are wrong because the market's going to price it differently than what you think. And maybe in the long term, you're right, or the news or narrative will change. But when you're down 50, 60%, it doesn't matter how right you are. You feel wrong. You know what I mean? And you have to be really confident in your thesis to take that much of a hit and know that, you know, you're not going to make it. But that's all part of hedging your risk. I mean, really, portfolio management really is risk management. You know, at least that's the way I look at it. Which some people will probably look at my portfolio and be like, "You don't manage risk at all." But that's why I put stop losses in place, because, like, for instance, so far this year, Adherent and advanced emissions have been over 50% returns for me. And like I said, I tend to put about a third of my portfolio into those companies. Where BNED, I did put a third of my portfolio and got stop lossed out, but that's down 10%. Well, the others are up over 50%. So, you know, I'm already well up, and it's not even February. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's interesting what you said also, because what is Barry's character in The Big Short? He's saying maybe I'm early, but I'm not wrong. And then the guy asks him like, yeah, but what's the difference? Big Short, he's
No, it's true. How is OBS stealing my camera right now?
yeah, I think.
I don't even have OBS up. Hold on, I gotta just see if I can get this to fix this stupid camera.
At least I think I'm not muted today, Dane.
Yeah, of course. There's always something that'll be wrong, but yeah, it's one of those things that when you're confident, you know, I like to take the risk. I mean, you know, this is one thing I probably haven't said this in a few streams, but to those of you, if you're tuning in, I have more than one portfolio. So some of my portfolios are really more like mutual / index type fund portfolios. And then I have one that's more of the typical value investor style, where it's great companies. You know, I try and find them at discounts, and I'm tending to hold them for a really long period of time. And then I have this portfolio, which is, you know, what I would consider, or what most would consider, extremely high risk, with a high tolerance for risk. But at the same time, too, you know, that's how you get outsized returns. and being a small retail investor where you can get in and out of some of these like small underlooked at companies, I think there's, you know, massive benefit to attempting or trying to do this. You know, everybody tries to outperform the market, you know, and it's not easy. You know, anybody who thinks you can just step in and do it. Pretty much the only style I really don't take advantage of is trading. I'm not really a trader by any ways. I have like technically traded because I've kind of got in and out of positions just based on like a news story or something like that. And really the reason I would say that was more of a trade is because the news story to me all makes sense. It seems bullish for whatever stock it was, but you know, I kind of take just a quick gain on it just because I'm not confident. I haven't really looked into it too much, but something was cheap. I had to get in quick when I did. And, you know, well, then I get like a little bit, like, let's say 10, 15% return, you know, and I'm like, all right, I'm out, just because that's about as far as I thought it would go.
Yeah. But
those are rare.
I see, and I mentioned it on the previous streams, like for a lot of people now, and I see other names also, that it has started a little bit rough, 2024.
Yeah, I mean, and this is part of it. You know, when you index and stuff like that, you know, there's the Magnificent Seven. When tech's down, everybody's down. You know what I mean? Or all of a sudden they came out and said, "Hey, inflation was a little higher in December," which no shit. December is like a month everybody's spending money like crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't even think that was a good month. Like I wouldn't be surprised if when January's inflation comes out, it's actually down. Maybe I'm totally wrong. This is, you know, so don't go buying, you know, 0 day to expire options on this dumb comment. But if it is down, then you know, maybe rate cuts will all of a sudden come back on where they might come in quicker. So it's like one of those things where it's going to go back and forth.
Yeah. Hey, I think your camera froze again.
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing it today.
I think for today we talked a little bit about maybe let's quickly comment a little bit on maybe Alto and BNED again. And then we can see if we find something new, and if we don't, we can pull up some something that we are tracking already.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. I'm gonna jump into the dash then. Still not muted, I think.
No, I think we can hear each other. That's good. Self-start. Besides, now I can't get my camera to work. I really need to get a better camera. I have like the crappiest camera I got off Amazon.
Yeah. I saw. I've been before we made the stream and everything. I saw a few videos on how to be like a successful YouTuber, and the thing was like, stream quality, the microphone and the camera needs to be good. We have nothing.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll put on a special effect here. This is my new home.
There you are in the. Where are you, in the forest?
It says it's a frog's hideout.
Nice. I have always known that you are a man of the nature.
Yes, every day, always out deep in the woods.
But is that your house?
Frog. What's up?
Is that your house in background?
Just one of them. One of the many.
Yeah. Okay. Cool looking. All right.
We'll see.
We are in the
I don't know.
dash.
Hopefully it doesn't freeze when I'm on this page. I don't know why it's freezing. I don't even have much going on. It's a little early in the morning for my internet to be crapping out. So we'll see.
If anyone is watching us, just please be patient with us, okay? We are trying here.
This is us trying our hardest, which is, I know it's disappointing.
Yeah. All right. I saw. What are your thoughts? You don't own any Bitcoin, right?
No. I don't know if I was gonna do Bitcoin, like. See, once again, maybe I should open another portfolio, because the problem with Bitcoin is like, maybe I could go on technicals, or you just go on like the bullish thesis, that kind of thing, and get in and out of it, that kind of thing, but or hold it, whatever you're thinking for the long term. But I don't know. I like if I opened a portfolio that was like that, I think I'd have to have been done like working with like my regular job, which one day I'll get there. But
Yeah.
in the meantime, like that's something I feel like if I was going to have, like I've said this before, but if I had 50 or 100 companies in one of those portfolios and I had to kind of know them each decently, or at least was able to really watch them, it's going to be tough because I just don't have the time to put in like that. Like me having just a few companies and I'm looking at the broader market and keeping track of things that I can keep up with. But in terms of like, I couldn't put a big position into Bitcoin is really my point. So
Yeah.
because of that, like, if I'm only going to put 1 or 2% in for like Bitcoin, then what does that mean to me?
Yeah, exactly. And my stance is a bit similar. I've briefly mentioned it. I just like to watch it because honestly, I thought it would be a bit more bullish now with the new ETFs and all that stuff, but it has actually gone down since then.
Well, the way I look at Bitcoin, it's kind of twofold because part of it is people were making money off mining it. And as the price kind of cuts back on it, like it's going to start to stabilize where that price lands. And don't get me wrong, it will go up and down over time. And the other problem I see with Bitcoin is it tends to be reactionary with the environment of the rest of the stock market. So if everything starts crashing, Bitcoin starts to crash too, which is strange because it should be a commodity almost hedge like gold is, but it
Yeah.
doesn't seem to work like gold does.
No, it
So,
doesn't.
like I said, it's speculative, which is fine if that's your thing. And like I said, people are very bullish on it. I understand, possibly a benefit, but you're working against a lot of governments who probably don't want to see it. People have argued, I guess the United States is talking about doing a digital currency. I'm sure other countries are. I know, I think, what was the country that adopted it? Didn't someone adopt it as
Yeah,
their
there
major currency?
were Ecuador
Yeah,
Ve-
Ecuador. Was it Ecuador?
or Venezuela, one of
So
those.
it was either one of the Central American or Southern American company or countries. So
Yeah.
but it's so volatile, not everybody accepts it. That's my issue. Like a good currency, I mean, this is basic economics, but a good currency is one that like everyone accepts, is relatively stable in price. And those are two characteristics that Bitcoin doesn't have at this point. If it
Yeah.
started to be accepted more, if the price started to stabilize a little bit more, which I guess it is headed there, but up until that point, and I don't trade currencies anyways now, like standard currencies that are all over the world. So to hop into Bitcoin to me, it's just outside of my realm of things I can understand. And
Yeah.
like I said, if I have a hard time assigning value to it, I have a hard time going heavily into it. So that's just me. But I don't get me wrong. If you can trade Bitcoin, good on you. But
Yeah.
for me,
No,
it's
I
tough.
agree. It's like it's not if I have if I'm happy with my portfolio and I have some cash just laying there and I want to just go a bit crazy, I could buy like the ETFs or try Bitcoin. But
Right.
I agree with you. It's like I I have had some discussions actually about other people who are very into all the blockchain technology and Bitcoin and like all the crypto field. But in my experience, no one has really been able to explain to me in a easy way what this is.
Yeah, my big thing with almost any crypto is even on like a technicals level, like if you look at the chart, like it's, it's tough. Finding support and resistance. Like there's so many. If you pull up a Bitcoin chart, there's so many times where support is either broken or resistance is broken. And if I was going off the technicals, which I understand, which I'm decent. I've read now 2 books on it. So I know even some of the more advanced ideas of cycles and trying to time these things and mixing multiple versions of technical analysis to know when you or at least be more confident in a play. And even with that, it still breaks at times that you wouldn't expect it to.
Yeah.
So if I can't, if I have a hard enough time even using technicals to follow it, I think I don't know, maybe people can trade it well, but when it comes to like intraday stuff, like that is not me at all. I am not like an intraday minute to minute, 5 minutes, that kind of thing. I'm not. I get why people do it, but if I was going to even attempt something like that, it would be in stocks. It wouldn't be in currencies or that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's just outside of our styles, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. I just the reason that I brought it up is I saw the blockchain is up a little bit here in my dashboard. So
Gotcha.
things are moving. Things are moving in the space.
If anybody ever hops into the chat and they're more of like a Bitcoin aficionado, you can always comment. Let us know kind of how you handle it.
Yeah.
I would assume if you really are bullish on Bitcoin, you would keep buying, and you would almost buy it like you would like an index. So like you just keep putting money into it, whether it's up or down, in the thought that no matter what, it's going to continue to go up.
Yeah.
But that's a risky asset in my opinion. And if you were going to do that, like, there's no guarantee. There's a short timeline with Bitcoin. And I'm not saying people are wrong if they think it's going to continue to grow and become more important in the world's economy, but I don't know that. And if you are really confident, that, I mean, number one, I want to know who you're talking to, and where you make that conclusion from.
Yeah, and even now, then that the SEC finally accepted like the stuff they did, you didn't see that big move that maybe people expected, and maybe that's because it's too high already. It's like I know people expected this to like fly through the roof a little bit, but it didn't happen.
Well, the other thing too is, like I said, when you have more options, when you have like, a derivative of a derivative for assets, like I can take my money, I can put it in physical Bitcoin. I can put it in companies that own Bitcoin. I can own Bitcoin miners. I can own ETFs that are based off Bitcoin, or are a mix of digital currencies. But now I can spread my bet across like 5 or 6. What that does to the actual price of Bitcoin, I feel like starts to limit it, because I have all these other options I can invest in. And if anything, you're probably, I don't know. I don't know if you'd be better off to spread it across those or not. But either way.
I'll tell you what though, my friend and I, this was 2018, I think, we went into Dubai coin.
Mm-hmm.
And Dubai coin we thought it was the new thing. The ticker was like Debix. I have never seen that money again.
Yes, and that's exactly why I'm not in it, because as soon as I go into it, I'll find out the next day that was really stupid, because it'll go down like $10,000. And
yeah.
And like I said, that's a thing too, is I don't even have like a judge of quality of like, if it goes down, how do I have the confidence to continue to hold? Like, with a company and a thesis that I'm stuck on, I have the confidence to hold it. With a currency, especially a currency that's not really used by anybody per se, who knows what it's going to do.
Yeah. And that was a little bit just for fun, but it was and to test it, but it was also interesting because I did own some Ethereum, or I don't know how to pronounce it in English, but
Ethereum.
Yeah. And it went well for me, so I tried to take the money out of Coinbase, and then I have to argue with them a little bit. It wasn't so easy to take it out from Coinbase, I had it was very easy to put it in, but and just things like that also makes me so skeptical,
Yeah, well, and you've seen how some of those companies have turned out,
Yeah.
I mean, they're essentially frauds.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. But Coinbase is a big player in the field, and supposed to be so good. And I did manage to withdraw it, but I had to like argue with them for I think it was weeks,
Yeah,
and it
that's
wasn't
insane.
even a lot of money.
That should be illegal. I'm sure that probably
Yeah.
is illegal on some level.
Yeah.
But
So and I have heard other people also, like when you try to take the money out, it's a bit of a struggle, and like I just have bad experiences myself, but yeah, like you said, if you can do this, good on you. Please let us know in the chat if you can. Maybe you can teach us something, because this is a little bit outside of our style and what we do the stream for,
Yeah, I would. If I was honestly going to take the risk and go into something, I'd find some obscure one, and I'd probably try and find something that's becoming more popular, because I find that they're sort of meme-ish in terms of like when it gets
Yeah.
popular, all of a sudden people pile money in. find one that's like worth like I don't know, a thousandth of a penny, and put $500 in it and let it just sit there, because either
exactly.
it's $500 gone or 100, whatever you want to put into it, whatever money you're willing to gamble essentially on it. And maybe someday it'll work out, but it's really hard. And I also think just with Bitcoin and Ethereum and a few of the other ones, I get it, certain versions of blockchain are more efficient. So that's why certain currencies are arguably better than other currencies. But what was the one that Elon Musk was in that was like a joke? You remember that one?
Dogecoin.
Yeah, Dogecoin. So like, things like that, like who knows? You don't know. And, people I'm sure there's people who have made like $1 million or more on something like that. And then there's most people, 99.9% of people have just lost money.
Yeah, you don't hear so much about the losses always, but you hear about the success stories.
Right, of course, that's everything.
All right, I saw we talked a little bit about natural gas. Did you see there has been some small moves there lately?
Yeah, let's just pull up the chart here. Yeah. Wow, it was a huge down day.
Yeah, it was down 4%.
Wow, it really bottomed right back out right when everybody was getting so bullish. That's brutal.
Yeah.
Is there news on that?
I'm not sure. Maybe we can check it in the stream.
I just didn't even notice that. I'm glad you pointed out. Nat gas sell off. I don't know.
Because it went up almost touching 10 and then it has dropped.
When is this from? This is from the 17th, so this is recent. Just saying the supply. They have great supply.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the thing. They're talking about the article I have pulled up here is talking about the Red Sea attacks by the Houthis, or however you say that. And I think the effect of that on shipping, well, it's definitely some part, because obviously some ships have decided, or companies probably have decided, to go down around Africa. I don't think it's been as drastic of an effect as people were thinking it would be. And I think also now there's a couple countries that are now, I know the United States has launched a few like retaliatory strikes against them to try and obviously stop them from attacking, citizens. But, I think everyone was getting real bullish on the news that all of a sudden shipping was going to go up, and probably the cost of commodities and everything would start to rise because of the demand loss. But I think it's kind of proven that it's not been as significant as people thought. So maybe that's why. And also too, I mean, it's cold in the States this week. In the past probably 2 or 3 weeks, but we're also, we're almost through January, and in February, I know the very southern states start to warm up in February. For the rest of us, it takes up until March and April to really warm up, but the cold season will already be over in a month or two, and if we're talking futures contracts, and we already are getting through the worst time of the year in terms of like needing heat, I guess the southern hemisphere flip-flops, but I know there's a much larger population in the northern hemisphere.
Yeah.
I know nothing about natural gas, so that was all off the cusp. So if I sound like a complete idiot, you can just let me know in the comments.
Yeah, let him know in the comments. but don't get me started on the weather, Dane, please. I barely survived the winter here.
Well, you live. Granted, I'm in New York, so it's not like it's beautiful here by any means right now. I mean, if you like snow, but
it's been
cold.
Brutal.
But, you're even colder than we are.
Yeah, it has been a cold winter though, so it's not like things like that affects also other things, because it costs a lot to heat the houses, so people, it's a bit tough times, and everything adds on to it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, you want to jump
One,
into the some of the fundamentals?
Yeah, just before we go, one thing that I saw is really up and it looks very bullish is the semiconductor industry is still way up. And I know everyone's
Yeah.
investing constantly in AI, but man, did you look at the semi ETF?
Yeah, I have the chart open now.
It's bullish.
Yeah, that's a nice looking one. It just seems to it doesn't seem to stop either.
No, I think the whole I am very curious to see where AI goes. That's like if you were going to ask me what's a speculative thing that's already super expensive that you would be interested in over like Bitcoin, I would be more apt to go into like Nvidia and AI type stuff just because that's arguably the obvious choice in terms of the future. How much AI actually affects things, obviously, is to be seen. But I think we all can agree we can see the potential.
Yeah. Huge potential, of course. And we even we're, at my workplace, who are not like in the you know, we have courses now where everyone needs to learn about this stuff, so it's everywhere. It's like it's gonna take over a lot of we need to think completely different in even jobs that you maybe think will not be so much affected. It will affect them also, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also
Hopefully for the better.
Talking about like trading and stuff like that, I wonder if there's AI traders out there. If a computer is able to like analyze the way people trade in human psychology, I don't know. I don't know if that's something that AI will be able to predict, just because I feel like humans are unpredictable in that sense. But they might just wipe out traders. Like that might all of a sudden become like a super difficult market to trade in if like AI starts to trade with people.
Yeah.
They're just able to process information like instantaneously. So, that's a large advantage.
There was once again, let us know in the chat if we come across as idiots. But there was a story. There's a girl here who's in my country that are doing a lot of research on this kind of stuff. And I saw when it was Christmas, I watched the chess tournaments, and she was a guest there, and she talked about AI and everything about it, and how it is so bad at making hands, for example, human hands. They always have like 6 fingers or something. Like, it can't do it. Have you seen that?
Yeah, and I know what you're saying, but this is the part of it too. Is it's all in its infancy, like
Yeah, it is. But my point, her point was not my point, but her point was, and I know there's some online things about this, but already discussions. But when you dream in real life, like things like time and concept, like if you have a watch on your hand, it's supposedly it's very hard to dream correct about time. So then people have started to connect AI now that they struggle to make certain things. That are we living in a simulation?
Yeah, I mean that's been a philosophical argument for a long time.
Very philosophical, but yeah, it made me think if you have some similarities.
Yeah, I know. We'll see where computers go. My thought is just I have built my own computer, so I understand the basics of computers, and I enjoy all that stuff, so I find it fascinating. But at some point, you reach a threshold where computers kind of reach a limitation in terms of how much they can process and compute, and with how complex the world is. I find it hard to think a computer could process all of it, but maybe that's very centralized thinking on my part. But who knows? I mean, these are questions to things you can't answer.
Yeah. It would be interesting to follow, and it has the potential to completely change the way we think in the world, I think.
Yeah. No matter what, though, I still think there's a great place for humans involved, because even with AI, like you said, AI is going to look at things and it's going to almost assume that the market's efficient, because how can you mathematically put in the chance that there's like events that aren't predictable? You know what I mean? You can't predict, for instance, the next COVID. You can't predict, the next, seismic event or something like that causes massive issues in certain areas. And because there's unpredictables, yes, statistically you can account for those, but you can't predict the timing of them. So even with AI, I think it's impossible for it to truly be efficient, which, anybody who believes in efficient market theory, I think at some point things do become efficient, but there's always like that reversion away and back to the mean. So it's kind of it's just another thing that you have to take into account. But I don't think it will like all of a sudden end investments. Like, all of a sudden you just have to trust a computer.
No.
I think
And if
that's
it's one
dangerous.
thing we have
So
seen
if the thing is up to a
in the
computer.
past also, if you look back, it's like when you try to predict something like this, where it will end, it almost never ends where everyone is predicting it. It finds a own path, and it develops into something a little bit else than what you maybe thought,
Yeah.
That
If anything,
always
I think
happens almost.
I think AI will be a great tool.
Yeah.
I think it will be another thing that humans can use to really help parse through a ton of information very quickly and try and make rational decisions, without having to understand all of it.
Very efficient. And it's already very efficient, so
It is,
it's a
but
great
like you
tool
said,
already.
too, it makes such like basic errors. Like it's so elementary at this point too.
Yeah. Yeah, true. But nice looking chart. This looks very
Yeah.
bullish.
Have you went through your daily movers and stuff and weeklies from Friday?
I have them here, but I didn't see so much. Have you seen anything?
Oh, I was just starting to go through. It's been a second since I actually looked at some of these.
Like there's some media companies and stuff like that, but no, I couldn't. I just quickly had a look before we streamed, and I couldn't find much on the daily at least. But I didn't properly go through the weekly.
Yeah, I'm going through now just on the daily stuff. But if you want to hop into one of them, we can start going with that, and then
Yeah.
I'll let you know any tickers I find if we find different ones.
Yeah. You want to just start? I know we have spent some time on some of these before, but do you want to start quickly with Alto?
Yeah, we can go into Alto. We can pull up Alto.
Yeah. And if you haven't watched the previous streams, like I'm heavy into Alto, and I think Dane has also a position there. We have talked about it before.
Mine has mine trimmed back. It's a pretty small position now, but I do find Alto once again getting to a price range where I'm interested. So this is where I start to watch it again to hop back in.
Yeah. And it's around the price now where I managed to average a little bit down after the Q3 report. So it almost went up to $3, and now since 2024 started, it has dropped back to 2. So it has happened fairly quickly. And I've seen some comments. I went through it on the last stream. I saw Justin on Twitter. Not finally, but that was the first time I saw it, that he was a bit more clear that he want them to sell the Western assets, because I know in his Q&A video on his YouTube channel, he got the question what he thought about it at the time, and that time he was a bit like, I can see the benefit of them selling it, but I can also see the benefit of them keeping them. So I guess he has made up his mind now on that he wants them to just focus on the Pekin plant, which makes sense, right? They
Yeah.
are in a tough position after that report.
What did that just say about Alto Ingredients extends term loan commitment period? Yeah, I mean, obviously Justin's the expert on the company, so I do tend to look kind of at what he's thinking. I know on X he had posted an article talking about the excess amount of corn and what that can mean towards Alto.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to pull it up so I can find it on X here. But he on the 16th had posted that crush margins just flipped positive. The last time they were sustained positive crush margins was January, February of 2018. He did say Alto needs to sell the Western plants with slim down project capex and then focus on the carbon sequestration and just running the Pekin plants. So if the plants start to become more positive, this could start to come through. I mean, you got all these idiots below just talking trash to him, and you could have, they all would have kept their mouth shut when it was $4 or $5, when it had popped up.
You didn't hear them then. But
Right,
if you scroll a bit down to January the 12th, I think that's the tweet you are referring to with the corn. It's a retweet with a girl named Karen Brown. If you go into Domo's profile.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through. Yeah, so up sharply from the previous estimates and above all trade estimates. So
So things are moving there, but Justin has gone a bit more quiet than he has in the past on Alto. And I think he, like everyone else, wants management to come out and like take control here.
Well, I mean, at this point too, what can he say? He needs to, I mean, he's saying that, the initial things that he was bullish on are starting to occur. Yeah. It's nothing crazy yet, but he could still be right in the long run with Alto. And I think that's the more important takeaway to get from this.
No, it's true. But, and by the way, people, if you haven't gone to Seeking Alpha, he has written a very, very good article. Whether he's wrong or right, the article explains the thesis, So if you are interested in Alto, I suggest you go and read his stuff on Seeking Alpha.
Yeah, and this is similar to my take on BNED right now, is that you're going to need something positive either from management or you're going to need something positive in just terms of actual financials. And until something else comes out like that, and there's the turnarounds, like people aren't going to buy into these things because they don't want to accept that kind of risk. When you're unsure of something too, the amount that you dare to put into any one thing drops dramatically. So I think once again, I still blame management. This just makes them look so stupid to not say, and it also scares people because, for instance, if you were management and you knew something positive was coming up, your stock prices, just gotten murdered, you would want to bring that news out because it would be beneficial. It would look great. Like everyone would also become excited. So I think,
and I assume it's so easy. It should be an easy thing to do, right?
But that's what I'm saying. It should be easy. So the fact that they're not doing it makes you think management's got nothing.
Yeah.
Like they don't have anything that's super positive right now. So they're just
I honestly I fear that to be the case a little bit for the Q4.
Right.
But my horizon is a bit longer, so I need to see if what happens. All of a sudden you get a positive surprise. You never know these things, but I think I can live with another drop. But when the summer comes, I want to see some concrete results here on especially the carbon capture sequestration project. And I want to hear some news on that now, also on the next report, that are positive.
Yeah. And the other thing too, and I think this is an important point that, you know, all these people who are talking trash right now, and this is what most or people who aren't value investors fail to understand. Justin says in his last paragraph that, you know, the future earning potential of Alto is material higher than the $40 million average EBITDA over the last several years. His projections that the shares could be valued anywhere from $10 to $20 by 2026, 2027. In a worst case / base case scenario with a 10 times EBITDA multiple, which he thinks could be possibly conservative. But what he's saying there, and the most important part, is even if they sell Western assets and it never gets close to that amount, he's looking out, you know, a few years. Most people are trying to figure out what's going on right now, or they're saying like, you know, 2024 might not be a huge year, whatever. He's not even talking. I mean, he's talking 3 to 4 years out from now. So, you know, he might be still buying at these levels around $2, and everyone's thinking like, you know, this could go down. It could continue to go down. If it goes down to $1.50, it goes down to less than that. You know, if in 2027 it pops up to $10 because we're you know, let's say it goes to $5, and that's the base case because, you know, they sell some of the assets and the crush margins are okay, and, you know, corn continues to kind of grow in this market like this, and the sequestration projects start to work out better. You know, that would still be, you know, like a 3 or 4 bagger, a 3 bagger, let's say. So even in a pretty bearish case in terms of what he was thinking. Now I get it, everything looks terrible right now, but this is the whole point of being a contrarian. You know, when people are slinging shit at you and they're saying like, like you look like an idiot. Well, maybe right now I do, but if he didn't sell his position and he remains bullish like he is, that's all you can do. What else can you do? You can just say like, hey, I hear what you're saying. You know, I disagree. In the long run, I disagree. RK disagreed with GameStop. Look what happened there.
I was thinking the same. Like you have heard that story. Not that we can compare these two at all, but other than the fact that he got a lot of shit for GameStop for a long time.
Yeah, and
now he's a hero, and they make movies about him. So
right, and that was unique. I mean, RK also bought options too. He didn't just buy stock. So he really had to be bullish on his timing, which is insane. So, I mean, it's just a rare instance where you find something that most people aren't looking at. And you know, to him, it seemed obvious. And I think to all of us, whether you thought that the turnaround in GameStop was obvious, everyone started to notice the short interest. And the short interest was so ridiculous that, you know, it just became like one of those things where it's like, if everyone starts putting money into this, there's a guarantee to make a shitload of money. You know what I mean? Like that's all of a sudden what became important was just, and I get it. That's not much of a thesis, but at the same time too, if it's no different than when a stock price, you know, becomes astronomical. You know, when GameStop got to $500, obviously it's not worth $500, but people knew the shorts weren't sold out and the shorts still had to sell out. So in that instance, it made sense to continue to buy. You know, and I get it why, you know, everybody's saying like, you guys shouldn't be buying up here. You're going to lose everything. I'm not saying they're wrong, but I'm just saying, you know, until they basically blocked people from buying the shares, it was going to go over 1,000. There was no stopping that stock.
Yeah. And I don't know if you watched the my screen now, Dane, but I just about Justin, and you can try to be funny and all that, but his performance is on his website. I just pulled it up now. He is obviously a very good analyst, and he knows a lot about how to invest, and he has good proof here on the website. And okay, 2022 it looks very bad for him. And maybe 2023, I haven't seen 2023 numbers, but look up until then, his numbers are solid.
Yeah, it is what it is. But you know, he might be down 60% on this, and then you know what was he when it was at the $4 or $5 mark, and everyone was starting to think he was right, and you know it was going to be another like home run. So the thing is, even with percentages like this, you know, are they going to go bankrupt? No. So that's the bigger concern. If the company's not going to go bankrupt and you think something's going to turn on material with the business, then you can hold it for as long as you want, because if it does end up returning, yeah, it might suck that it took longer than you hoped for the thesis to work out. But that's part of what things are. Sometimes you have to hold stuff for a year, 2, 3, 4, whatever. You know, I understand we're deep value investors. We're looking at things that we're hoping will turn over quicker. That's just kind of part of the nature of these small companies. Is like when something happens, it can happen quick because no one's looking at it, and then all of a sudden everyone's looking at it, and something changes. But that's why there's value here, because you know people aren't following these companies closely. Not many of us, at least.
And it did go up yesterday, and we saw on the big drop around $2. It seemed to have some. It seems to have found a bottom there, at least for now, because it was on the way to being below 2 again this week. But it has turned a little bit around now. At least yesterday, it bounced up again after being down.
Right.
So I agree with you. Like Alto at these levels, in my opinion, you can view it in many different ways, but it does look cheap on a lot of things down here, in my opinion. If the position wasn't too so big that it is for me personally right now, I think I would be interested here to maybe average down a little bit.
Yeah, even my calculator, I get the I get the worth of the stock right now, even with all the recent fund. I'm looking at historical fundamentals and cash flows. Mine says around 250.
Yeah.
So even right now, it's technically, you know, starting to become undervalued at these levels. Now you can argue that the business is going to continue to decline. Obviously, that's the other very bearish thesis, is that, you know, they're not going to turn it around. They're not ever going to make enough money, and they're going to slowly just keep shrinking. But, you know, obviously, I see the whole case for selling the Western assets. You know, if they're not really worth it, and you think you can return some money to shareholders in the meantime, and then just focus on the better part of the business, or what you consider will be going forward, I see why they're saying that.
Yeah.
You know, Jeremy, I followed some of his stuff, and he's always someone where he at least seems, I don't want to put words in the guy's mouth, but he seems like someone who, when he buys into something, he's trying to find a way to get the value out of it, you know, quicker than maybe other people are. He's happier with taking, you know, certain times just, you know, them selling off an asset like that and getting his money and getting out of it, than necessarily picking these long theses where he thinks it's going to. He's always looking for situations, it seems to me.
Yeah. I wish he could come with some updates on his thinking after the Q3 report. He just commented, you know, on Twitter briefly on it, but it would be interesting to hear him, because he had what I think he even called it a conservative number of $6.50 if they sold. He wanted them to sell the entire business. And I mean, if he still sees 6.5 and it trades now at 2, there's value here, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I see what you're saying. So,
but he has been a bit quiet, and I understand it. So, but Alto is interesting to me, at least still, and but I fear a little bit that the next quarter also will be maybe not so positive. But they have surprised in the past, and we talk about management, right? It's not all bad in their history. They've done some good things also, so it's important to keep that in mind. But it's a bit hard to get past what they did on the Q3 report. I think everyone agrees with that. I think they agree with that when they have seen the results of it after.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously just extremely poorly handled. And the crazy thing too is, I don't know if they were nervous or they knew that the one-off stuff was really going to affect the stock. But if you would have just came out before, as that price was starting to creep up, if you would have came out and just offered some guidance and said, hey guys, listen, we had a bunch of one-off events. I know people are predicting like this really strong bullish move, but at the time, the one-off events have offset all the gains that we hope to get. We're still on track in the future. You know, they said they did have to say they were pushing back projections a little bit. So, you know, you have to take that into consideration. But if you would have just said that before and not waited until the financials came out and just were ugly, you know, and then on the on the transcript, you know, like, or for the call, you know, they didn't act like it. They didn't seem to act like it was that big of a deal.
No, they didn't. Which
you know,
is like
you can't dismiss stuff like that. You can't dismiss shareholders in their expectations if you're a public company. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah. No, and
without you know feeling like you know they're gonna feel like they got smacked in the face, which I think anybody who was in it did.
Yeah. But if you just go back to Q2, everyone was positive here, and they had a change in CEO, and I know Justin was very happy with Brian who took over. I'm not sure if that has changed now. I know he has been in direct contact with him, so he probably, but he was very warm with his words describing him in the summer in Q2. So I mean, things changes of course, but I don't think you talk so positive about a person without it being something good there, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't think these people are idiots, but I agree with you that they seem to not really understand the effect that they were putting on their company.
It didn't seem like it.
Yeah. But who knows? Maybe there's some stuff going on at a higher level inside Alto that we don't know about, and like the bottom line is you can analyze this and talk about it as much as you want, but they need to deliver. They need to deliver hard results now, and they need to get the confidence back from the shareholders. That's the only thing that matters. Nothing else matters in this thesis right now. But let's see how it goes. It's interesting after this drop, though.
Yeah, I think there's still stuff to be looked at.
Yeah,
but it's similar to when we talk, like I said, about BNED.
You want to change to BNED? We can do that now.
Yeah, we can talk about BNED for a second. You know, if anyone saw my post on Seeking Alpha, I did get stop lossed out, obviously. So it is what it is. Do I think at these prices, BNED is cheap again? It's definitely getting there for me. It's starting to get back to that section, or that where I think it starts to be worth considering a position again. Now, the issue with BNED is all you guys probably know if you've ever watched the stream and if you started to follow the stock or the company, is that they're we're going to have to figure out going forward. Number one, do we think how likely is it that the Department of Education actually approves the change where students would have to opt into the program versus opt out? You know, I go back and forth. I was a college student, and this is what continues to make me bullish on the statement. I remember having to go buy all my lab materials. I remember having to go buy my books, and to be honest, it was expensive, and certain things were kind of locked in. Like my lab materials, I mean, yeah, I could have went through on Amazon and tried to be real savvy with buying certain stuff, but like you didn't know exactly what you needed. You know, it was all these. And then, don't get me wrong, my undergrad was in science. It was a bio degree, pre-med specifically. But if you're going to buy all that stuff, like I'm not going to go on Amazon and find like different kind of test tubes and make sure I got all the right stuff by doing it that way. So there were certain things, and just out of convenience sake, that if you told me, hey, there's a program we just want you to be aware of. If you opt into this program, everything's going to come wrapped in a package. Here's the price. It's part of your tuition. You don't even have to worry about it. And on day one, it will be available to you. To me, that would have been worth it. I would have definitely taken that offer. You know, I'm not going to sit there and go through and try and find all these different things. Half the time when you're doing the digital codes, and I know this sounds lazy, but I think the average person is not lazy, but in just terms of like, you're going to take the path of least resistance. So,
just convenience, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just of convenience. If you're like, hey, listen, this book, these digital materials, the keys that you need, it'll all be unlocked automatically. So day one, you're going to show up to class. It'll all be available to you. You know, hey, just so you know, if you want to be really savvy, I bet you could go out of here. You could probably try and buy this stuff. Maybe you'll save 5, maybe 10%. You'll just have to figure it out on your own. You can go do that if you want. Anybody who's opted in versus opted out, I think even if I have the option of having to opt in, which is what everyone's so nervous about, is that if you have to opt into the program, they're not going to click that box. They're not going to say, hey, I want to do that. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think in certain cases, yes, people will not opt in because like, it's just, let's say it's like a, one of the pointless classes you take in your gen eds, for instance, which I'm sorry to say, there's a lot of pointless classes you take in college. They want to talk about saving money on college. Why don't you cut out a lot of the bullshit that we take in college? Because that's the first step. Stop guaranteeing the loans. You want to stop. I mean, you want to fix all these problems. Those are ways to actually fix it. But sure, you want to nitpick and pick pennies and dimes. We could do that with the books. But and I'm not saying that you shouldn't look into all the different avenues to save money on. That's also important. I get everything that they're talking about and what they're trying to do. But when it comes to certain classes, sure, you might not opt in every time, but there's going to be classes where it just makes sense to opt in. And I think going forward, the important thing to calculate is what is that going to be? And I don't know if that's something you're going to be able to calculate. I read a bunch of articles that were actually from earlier in 2023 where people were talking about the opt-out model. Even with that, they were saying like, oh, I tried it a few times and I would be happy with it kind of wrapped in my tuition anyways, is what most of the students that I read were already saying. And the whole article was written from the aspect, I could pull it up too, or I could find it if anyone wants to see some of the articles. But if you just Google Department of Health, book, what's the word? Restructuring, you'll pull up a bunch of articles on this and you can kind of follow along. And what most of the students are saying is, well, the price of things are expensive. They found that the ones that are wrapped up and are automatically include it kind of as a one price fee. They thought that the price, if it was in comparison, seemed better usually with these packaged materials, and that it wasn't going to save them much. So like I said, my big thing in me trying to figure out what's important here is, let's say bearish case thesis occurs and that even with an appeal and all these different processes that happen through the government, they do change the law to state that you can't do what they're currently doing with the first day complete model. People will have to opt into that model. They already have contracts with all these schools guaranteed going forward. So these things are going to occur in 24 and 25. These schools are going to take on these models. Now, even if you make it where that model is going to change to an opt-in only style, I think there's a ton of students who've already tried it. Usually, they just said that the rates, which you got to go into the participation rates. You can find that people who have done it in their freshman or sophomore year tend to reuse the program. So I think no matter what is, maybe it will limit the size that this can get to. I don't think the great upside will be there in terms of like, this is going to be a knockout of the park. But if we're just looking at the current cash flows that were available just right now, let's say the program was supposed to grow by 300% if they got all the schools involved and everybody had the option only to opt out. Well, let's say it only grows by 100% now because it's limited to only the people who want to opt in. Even that growth right there will save the company, will provide the revenues, it will provide the earnings that they need, the free cash flow that they'll be able to restructure their debt. They're going to survive. I have a hard time thinking that someone, even in this interest rate environment, you've seen a lot of people be able to restructure loans. I'm not saying the interest rates are great, but I think they're going to, just by me looking at the numbers, I think they would make it through. And I think that's the most important thing to think about. I think that's why people are so nervous, is because it does have a lot of debt. That's obviously a concern. And restructuring it could potentially hamper the company. But I think if we continue even at these rates, let's say it doesn't grow at all, let's say it stays at this, they generated 59 cents per share. And granted, this is just my metrics, so these things could be slightly off, but 59 cents a share, that extra free cash flow, and I get it, it's only going to probably be from the 2 different quarters, because that's when in the fall and spring is when people tend to buy textbooks. There is winter courses. Some colleges are tri-semesters, so it's not perfectly even like that, but that's when it tends to occur. I don't know. I think this one just squeaks through, which at these levels, if you want to argue something's starting to get cheap, It's somewhere around here if you add in the recent cash flow.
Yeah.
If that cash flow goes back to negative and it's not able to be there, I can see why people would this will die. I don't think it will work out. But I think even in the opt-in model, I still think it's going to work out. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. No, very good. And you know, we have talked about this, and I agree with you on a lot of things here. And but we talked a little bit the other day, Dane, on the date when they're gonna decide was in November, right?
Yes, and that's obviously an important timeline to look at. It's not. It has to be in writing in November. That's when the Department of Education will make that decision. So I had someone post to me just asking, what would be possibly like something to consider in terms of maybe re-entry. I think they were specifically just asking me if I was still bullish on it, which obviously yes, I am. But this is why I said, let's say the next few financial reports come out and things still look good. They might be able to argue to their ABL structure, because that's who provides their loan for them. They might be able to argue like, hey, just this cash flow right here will obviously allow us to continue into the future. And maybe that'll be enough for them to give the loan. If interest rates start to go down, which like I said, that this is part of, we'll have to see what inflation continues to do going forward, where we think rate cuts might start to occur. Let's say it's in summer. If we start to get rate cuts by summer, obviously that makes the chance of restructuring start to go up. All those little things can add up in terms of making this one squeak through. As those come through, I'll become either much more bullish or much more bearish on that thesis. So if you're someone who's kind of waiting and you're not worried about really timing a bottom here, I don't blame you for possibly waiting. And then as we get closer to some of those more true news events where we can get something tangible, hopping in then if you want to be bullish on the thesis. But I don't know. I keep going back and forth. Obviously, if I buy back in right now, it'd be a wash sale. So it would adjust where I have to get to, but it doesn't matter at that point. I mean, it's not about that. If I'm going to hop back in, it's because I'm still bullish on the thesis, and I think it's going to be over a 50% return, which arguably from 80 cents, if the thesis comes through at all, I don't know. It's a multi-bagger to me from that point. This could turn around if they could restructure and start to pay down that debt.
And that will happen quick then if that ball starts to roll, that will happen a bit quick. I think that it will bounce up again, because you saw it's not long ago, I have the chart here.
Obviously another big point would be, sorry, I don't mean to cut you, but just one last thing to say is whenever the appeal process is for the companies who are affected by this, there's a few, if they come through and they present let's say we all hear the appeal and it sounds fantastic, and they provide a lot of really rigid documentation on, listen, this is saving students money. If you cancel this program, it's not going to necessarily benefit students in money, which is the whole point. Or this might be one of the best options for students anyways, if they can prove that, or at least convince the Department of Education. Because there was also articles where after the Department of Education said everything they said, and you can read what there was a group that put towards a letter to the Department of Education recommending these changes, which is a change in one of the law codes. You can look all this up. If you do think that they can come through with something that disproves what they're saying, then right there and then the appeal process might change. You might see a huge bullish turnaround. But like I said, there's other experts in finance and education who understand it obviously even better than I do. And they said that they don't necessarily think the change in the law would really change things. They said the colleges could possibly do other things to make money again. And I mean, I get it. Some of these colleges are private, so they're trying to make money. That's just part of the business. It is a business. And yes, they obviously want to provide great education to the students, but it's a business, and people are going to try and make money. And if you change the law, is it really going to benefit students? That's kind of the argument a few of the people had who were just saying that they obviously needs to be a lot more research, which is another part to why I said I'm just so surprised everyone saw that one article and just thought, well, this is the end for that. There's no
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah.
That's what the price has shown.
Yeah.
We'll
And
see what
it's a
whenever
big.
Courage puts out his article. I know I was talking to Johnny earlier about this, and we were kind of laughing. And I know that someone was arguing with him about saying, like, you put your stuff behind a paywall. It's a pretty cheap paywall if you want to really hear what the guy has to say. And if he has to say something that's worth your while, you can charge for the information. That's his right.
Yeah. Go and support them instead, because there's a lot of work going into this, and we of course we don't know all the people that we are talking about, but there's a reason that some names you will see us talk about some certain names over and over again here. It's because we like the research, and they have proved themselves in our opinions at least. So there's of course people out there that try to maybe mislead people and stuff like that. But these people, in my opinion at least, they do very good work, and are they can be wrong, but at least you trust that their work is solid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you for instance, you showed Justin's returns over time. Courage has put up his 3-year returns, and they're at 40%.
Yeah,
and you can look him up. He has pictures of them. I use Fidelity, and I think that's what he used too. So I know what Fidelity looks like. So I know what it shows in terms of how it's supposed to look. And his it looks just like it's supposed to. So it's his real returns. He's not lying to anybody about it. And he's been very successful with this portfolio. So I don't know. You can argue all kinds. That doesn't even matter in the grand scheme of things. But do I think there's still potential here at BNED? Yes. And even me, with everything being said, I'm going back and forth. Maybe I'll take a smaller position because I've already had, some of a loss, and I don't want to hop right back in. And I know I don't usually take smaller positions, and a small position for me would be probably like 10%. And then if it continues to become bullish, let's say the appeal process looks good, or the fundamentals start to look better in the coming, quarter, then that's when I would typically add to that position. And then that way I do have something closer to a bottom. I don't know. We'll have to wait. We'll have to see what the market, does it continue to sell off? I'm sure anybody's still holding at this point. You're holding because you kind of agree. Like I said, if I didn't get stop lossed out, would I still be bullish on the thing? And obviously then I'd have a long ways to recover, but still, I guess this all just comes to me saying that, I'm still very bullish on this thesis. I still like BNED. I think it's in a good spot. I think the news is overblown, but who knows? I see what the risk is. That's the other thing that I'll say out there is, obviously this isn't without risk. The issue with a company like this is because of its structure. If it makes most of its money in 2 quarters, you got 2 other quarters that you don't make a lot of cash. And during those times, you have to have enough liquidity to get through those times. So that's what makes this a tough one, is that during those off quarters, you have to have enough cash to just kind of get through until you get to the next one, you get that reinflux of cash. So they tend to use their credit to be able to offset those time periods, so that's why a restructuring deal could be, potentially hazardous to the company.
And I know maybe it's a bit repetitive, but you can come at this from this angle as well. If you were in this company on this ride from where it is like around now to let's say almost $2, and then that news came, what has really changed with the company itself in that time?
Yeah.
There's some added risk maybe, but the plan for the company is still much the same, right? And that's where the opportunity comes in. But of course, people, like always, do your own research here. We just because we are talking a bit bullish about some companies doesn't mean that it will work out. So please do your own research before buying anything.
Yeah, and like I said, with everything being said that I just talked about, I think the most important thing to know is that if the opt-in model still becomes this is my thing. If you have to opt into the program, you'll have to re-rate where you think things will land. But do I think they'll continue to generate free cash flow and then all of a sudden start to get out of is such a leveraged position, maybe possibly do either dividends or share buybacks? I'm not talking today, I'm talking in the future. But you could start to see the company pivot at that point. So they don't have to get this huge upside in terms of FDC, even if they kind of stay where they're at, like going forward, if the program expands, but they only have 25% of people opting in, you can still see that would kind of average out to almost where they are today, which means they do generate free cash flow during the year, which means they start to delever and they can make the company start to, to thrive. So we'll have to see going forward, but there's just so many variables against the bearish thesis to just assume this is automatically like a stake to the heart. I don't see that.
No, same here. And yeah, we have talked a little bit about the off camera as well, but it's the fact that the reaction was so big also makes you a bit confused, maybe there's something you are missing or something like that. But I know you have done more research on this than I have, but we have talked a lot about it, and we haven't really found much more than what we are talking about here, right?
Well, I would be happy for all the bears who I mean, the short interest is low, so people shorting it are nothing out of the fact it's so levered, but for any of the people who are bearish right now and think that this isn't going to happen, besides the fact that you were just saying like opt-in's going to happen, it's going to fundamentally hurt the business, is there anything else that I'm missing? I would love for people to try and point it out to me, because I can't personally right now see anything more than just that news article and obviously the change in regulations. I get that, but other than that, I don't see anything else materially that I'm missing.
Yeah. No, so yeah, please come and write us a comment if you know about BNED and have a different view than us, because we would like to hear it and have a discussion about it. Because if what we are talking about now is right, this has huge potential for a nice gain, right?
It would be a multi-bagger, in my opinion.
Huh?
It would definitely be a multi-bagger from here.
Yeah.
Which, as I say, with me taking heavy positions, a multi-bagger for me makes my portfolio for the next, years.
Yeah.
So
and right now 13% from the 52-week low, and we talked a little bit about it off camera as well. Like it's a bit hard now to jump straight in, because there's so big moves now in this, both up and down. So I need to see a bit where it stabilize and land. But like you said earlier, if you're happy to just go in now and maybe average down a bit if it continues to drop because you're bullish, I don't see that that's necessarily a bad strategy here even, but it's risky here now.
Yeah, I'm trying to, the way I'm trying to judge the risk on this is if I was to get back in, let's say I do start to average down or just average into it, even if it's going back up. If I do set another stop loss and I lose another 10% on this, do I kick myself for doing that? I don't know.
No.
It's rare that I come across something where I think that the news in terms of the opposite of what I'm thinking is it just doesn't seem like quite the downside that I would expect for something like this. But we'll see. And if I lost another 10% on this one, it's really not a big deal. I'm already up for the year. So
yeah.
And there'll be other things. Who knows? That's the other thing too. Right now is I tend to start to focus on certain companies as I'm going through, just because other stuff isn't catching my eye. And until I have a few other things that come through that make me be like, this is really interesting now, which, who knows? Maybe today I'll find another one. And then all of a sudden my thought and focus will be on that. But
yeah.
We'll just have to see.
It's a candidate, and one that we are now. We have pulled it up on many streams. We are invested not with money, but with time also with the research now that we have done here. And this is very high up on the radar for both of us right now, I think. And maybe one of the opportunities for the year.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely interested.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just looking at the chart, Dane. Do you have the chart up?
Yes.
If you go to the beginning of July 2023, there's a bit of a identical drop, like a gain and a drop that it was now. Do you know what happened there?
I think I had looked at it before. Let me pull up Seeking, because I think on Seeking Alpha, there was news around that time that you could see why it had done what it did.
Yeah. I just noticed it now that we talked, and I can't remember if I read about it.
It might have just been the earnings report around that time.
Yeah, it could be. And there's a big difference in volume in that time than now.
So April 13th, the CFO resigned. There's an article on July 29th that was it July or was it?
It was 3rd of July.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
there's actually an article on that exact date.
Yeah.
Lowered guidance, yeah.
Yeah, but also around that time too, said it entered into an agreement with financial stakeholders and strategic partners to strengthen its financial position and support growth initiatives. As part of the agreement, BNED is establishing a committee of the board of directors to continue the ongoing review of a broad range of strategic alternatives available to the company, which includes potential capital raises, asset divestitures, or sale of the business, as well as pursuing standalone growth plans. So, obviously they had gotten to a point where they were thinking that, hey, this might not work out and we might consider alternative options. So sometimes you'll see bullish spikes on that, because if they start looking around to say like, hey, does anybody want to buy us? That could be a quick return to shareholders. So that's probably what that was from.
Yeah.
But now if you look at what management's saying, they're not necessarily considering that. I mean, maybe going forward, maybe the opt-in, maybe this leads to something like that again, if the legislation gets passed. But then once again, if the business is possibly going to be bought up by someone else, it could be beneficial for shareholders. It might not be the long-term return that people were hoping for, but as you start to get lower in price here, someone could take this on, because while the debt for them's high, it might not be to other companies.
No, true.
But we'll have to see. I mean, we'll have to see how much material affects the business, because obviously that's the question.
Would like how it's hard to say, of course, and I know, of course, that any insider buys here would be a good sign, but does the lack of it worry you a bit at these price ranges?
No, because I don't. If let's say you're in the same position we are, if you're in that business now, if there is insider buying, let's say there's some positive insider buying, that could be extremely bullish, because that would mean that management is probably assuming that this isn't going to hurt them.
Yeah.
So that could be extremely bullish. But in the meantime, they don't know any more than we do. You know what I mean? They can't predict what the Department of Education is going to decide on. So even if I was management, it is your money. Are you gonna throw it into something that even you can't control this? It's no different than like the JetBlue and Savior, or even how iRobot that just got blocked from Amazon buying iRobot. Even if like you're in those situations, you don't know what the government's going to do. You don't know who's going to get blocked, who's not going to get blocked. You don't know when they're going to change regulations and how much they're going to change on the regulations. The one group that wrote what they wanted the regulations to change they basically crossed out like a few lines of the law, which is what would affect the opt-in section. But you don't know if it's going to be exactly done like that either. Just because that's what was put forward and suggested in terms of changing the law, they might keep certain parts of it, or it's all up in the air. We don't know. So I don't think management would be smart. If I saw them invest right now, I'd probably question it, because it's pretty early on in the process to really know what's going to happen.
Yeah. But also historically, they don't have they didn't buy any shares in 2023. You know what I mean? Maybe they don't buy so often here in this company.
Yeah, it's all part of. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Yeah. I'm not so concerned just yet with that. We'll have to figure out going forward.
Yeah. Still though, the insider ownership is 25% in my data, so they own a big chunk of it.
Yeah, I was just actually going to go through. I mean, this is technically older now, and that's the one thing we do have. When is this 14F from? Yeah, the last 14F I have is from April 29th of 23, so it's quite old. So well, that's the other thing too, is we'll be able to compare this to the next time they put one out, and that way we can kind of figure out who was kind of sold out, who's still in, what the changes have been, that kind of thing. Because there was quite a few 5% stockholders.
Yeah.
And of the current directors, 12.76% owned themselves. I mean, it's mostly it's mostly Mike and Rory, but either way.
Who is that Leonard Riggio guy? You know about him?
It's the Riggio Foundation Charitable Trust. They're co-trustees. They don't have any. It's just a trust.
Yeah, it says like he retired American businessman. He served as executive chairman of bookstore chain Barnes & Noble and was its largest shareholder from 1971 until the sale of the company to the hedge fund Elliott Advisors in 2019. So I guess he's just still there a bit then.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So he's been involved the whole time, and he probably just got these when they made the company, anyways.
Yeah, but he owns almost 10%, so still a big part there. Don't know how to read that, but something. Yeah, definitely interesting. And one that we will probably talk more about and keep a close eye on in the coming streams also. So if you get tired of us talking about BNED, let us know.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm just looking at a lot of the reports, and this is from right before this last kind of sell-off, and there was a lot of people buying, in millions of shares. So I imagine it's most of these guys getting out now because of the legislation. So who knows if the legislation comes back, positive, and or they have positive numbers off of it, those guys might buy right back in. You'll see the share price shoot right back up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as always, after everything I just said, do your own due diligence. This is just my personal opinion, and it matters nothing. I'm usually completely wrong.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, just our thoughts, and that's also part of doing due diligence, to find idiots like us on YouTube and hear what we can say. But no, I know we follow this closely, but do your own research, please.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. It is very levered. This is a very levered company. So there is obviously
there are definitely risks. Like sometimes when we talk about stuff, because we are so used to it then to deal in this type of company, so maybe the risk profile doesn't really come through when we speak about it, but there's definitely risk here.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, it's close to the 52-week low, so it's a bit on the technical side also. If it takes out that bottom, it could be beneficial to wait a bit and see, but who knows where it will go. Looks a bit bearish right now.
I don't know. I don't know how much the technical guys would go off this too much, but we'll see. Who knows? I mean, that's the thing about technicals is that you could still see some bounces here, just as people kind of play around with the stock, how it reacts. A lot of it. That's why technicals come down to psychology, because with everything being said, there might be people who are on the fence right now because they understand what we all just said. And with that being said, they're kind of waiting for some kind of message to get back into the stock, like I said. And a lot of the technical guys will just go off straight up technicals. So if the chart all of a sudden looks kind of bullish, and then you got a bunch of people buying in because they're like, oh my God, maybe something's changing, because all of a sudden the stock jumped, let's say 30, 40 cents, in a day. If that occurs, you might see a ton of people all of a sudden, hop at and not really knowing if there's news or not, and it could come right back down. But that's part of, that's why momentum trading and all that exists, because you don't have the news all the time. And in between that, it's just people kind of, taking their guesses and deciding that, hey, I'm going to take a bet on this or not,
Yeah. All right. You want to move to maybe a little bit about on GTE?
Yeah, we can. I'll do GTE with you.
Have you seen they are also they are getting hammered?
Well, the price of oil hasn't done quite what they wanted. And have you looked at anything in Colombia? Because I know Colombia is the big risk factor, it seems, always with this company.
Yeah, and I have spoken a little bit about it, but they are also in Ecuador, and there's a situation right now in Ecuador that is not very good, with a lot of they are trying to bring down the president and stuff like that. There's a lot of killing, a lot of kidnapping, so there's definitely risk in Ecuador right now, but I haven't. As far as I've understood, like the Colombian thing is a bit has stabilized a little bit since I first jumped in, but the share price is now almost to where I entered to start with, so I have not lost money, but I lost my gain a little bit the last couple of weeks,
Yeah, I got you. I've been in GTE before, and I'm pretty sure if you go to the chart, I got involved in in June, I think, and wrote it up, and it was more of a trade on that time.
I did the same entry.
Back towards lows here.
Yeah.
And even if you look at like a 3-year chart, there's definitely some support around 450.
Yeah, it is. And like you started to say, like oil is also not very, very, very bullish at the moment. But I on my last stream, I brought up something Stabos was. He had cut out an article from Barron's that I found a little bit. A little bit interesting to bring a little bit of balance, It says. Energy stocks are out of favor. Fund managers had less exposure to energy stocks heading into 2024 than at any time since December 2020, according to the latest Bank of America Global Fund Managers survey. With energy prices slipping, investors went from 4% more exposure to energy stocks than their benchmarks in November to 11% less exposure in December, the largest month-to-month decline since January 2016. And then
Yeah.
he's writing, still, it isn't always bad for stocks when they're out of favor. Investors who bought energy stocks in December 2020, the last time they were this out of favor, did very well. So it's just to bring a little bit of balance here when it has been hammered a bit. But of course, Starbucks are facing a little bit of a... People are arguing a little bit with him now because he's very bullish here.
Well, and on top of being bullish, they're buying back a lot of shares.
Yeah, he just posted that also. There's a new transaction now, and they are buying regularly. And I like that it's very... If you just go to these links, you can find all the information here, and they have been buying a lot, and I think they have already finished like a third, or what did he say? In just a short amount of time, they have done a lot of share buybacks since October.
Yeah, I mean, share count is going down quickly, so I get what he's saying. Like I said, the problem is I think the way people, they calculate the risk is they're looking at the risk-free rate for Colombia and Ecuador, and obviously that probably varies quite a bit just because of what's going on in those countries. But just in terms of oil being, I'm not going to say it's at like a super low, but it's obviously not where it's been trading. It's trading much higher, well over $100.
Yeah.
So when him saying that he's saying, I don't believe the company would be backing up shares like this if there was something wrong. I get what I agree with him. I think GTE starts to become interesting here at this price.
Yeah, I agree. And this is close to my first entry because I also entered in June like you did. And I mean if you look at the fundamentals, it's not bad at all. I'm just gonna sit here, I think.
What do you have for a price, like a high side valuation or a fair valuation? I should say.
But I don't trust mine, so I don't want to even. Mine is too high, I think.
Because I
never
11.94.
remember we talked about I had to adjust the book value in the calculation, and I never figured it out. So yeah, I don't really trust my thing.
Yeah,
But
like I said,
I can see at least like $10,
Yeah.
And even more. Like first when I jumped in, I was thinking about maybe 10 to even like 12 to 15. What do you have?
I have 12.
Yeah.
So
Which would be more than a
It's a
double
double.
for me,
Yeah, it's a double. So no, my thing is with this one is trying to besides just the price of oil going back up, what will cause this to become fairly valued?
Yeah. But it's if we talked about the management in the two other companies, right? Alto and BNED. At least here you see they are buying back all the shares they can.
Yeah.
And they've
Yeah, I
done
guess
it in a good period where the stock has been cheaper than maybe it deserves,
Yeah. No, to me, I mean, if you look at just even the charts for like crude compared to GTE, I mean, they're almost identical.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can probably compare this to just the price of oil and start to figure out. Obviously, it's much more volatile than oil itself is, which is obviously due to the other risks involved. But that makes you start to think that, the cheaper this gets, the more obviously it will become pretty bearish. I just have to look in to make sure that all its oil stuff isn't gonna end out really quickly. It's been a minute since I looked into this one heavily, but I see why you're interested in GTE. I see what Stabo sees actually on this one.
Yeah. And he's, you know, even with his comments lately, it's like and again, people can be wrong, but I think he's pretty balanced, I think, in my opinion at least. Even if he gets some shit here in the comments, but
Yeah, I know. There's a risk between sanctions to some of these countries, and also I know with the government and some of these things too, they
yeah,
can change like how it's taxed.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. That was
so
the big issue in Colombia, but that has always been there, and it went. What did it went like? It went up to, hold on, like almost 7, you know, just on oil
right,
prices, because those risks were already there then.
yeah, and they're trying to reduce like environmental impacts, which I know for a lot of these companies is a priority. So yeah, it's interesting for sure.
Yeah,
You know, he's saying net asset value. Whoever CW Capital, I haven't actually read a ton from him, but it's this is a pretty well written article, and he's saying 22.45 on a NAV for 10-year.
yeah, yeah. I saw some comments also here, like GTE stock had serious peaks in all these years. Lowest of those peaks was over 20, most way over 40. I'm not sure if it will go that high, but I can see, like you said, like 12 to 15, which I would be very happy with.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when I'm looking at the longer term charts, I could easily see. I mean, like I said, I said 12 to me is a fair valuation.
Yeah.
Usually, it goes well above what I consider a fair valuation.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
typically
yeah.
when I start to
Yeah.
trunch out of my position because I'm already happy at that point. Usually, when it hits like more of a fair valuation,
Yeah.
and that's just the way I deal with my starting to plan my exits. You know, I try to do it on that basis, but it depends if there's something material changing with the business or with legislation or whatever is affecting it. So it might be that I take my time more than others, but it's definitely interesting at these prices.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah, I
you
thought so
read the
too.
most recent transcript?
Sorry?
Did you read the most recent transcript?
Yeah, I skimmed through it. But I didn't. I have been reading more like the. I am just since I went into it, it has tracked oil, you know. So when I've just been paying a little bit attention to that.
Yeah, and the fact that they're buying back, I mean, it starts to look like
And
pretty
they have
promising. I mean,
bought
you're
two
buying back
big
shares. You're
blocks.
looking at this chart. The chart should be more exaggerated going into the future because there's less shares.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is from 930. What's the current share count do you have?
I have 33 million, but it's probably less now.
That's what I'm saying. I want to know. Yeah, I still have 33 million on Yahoo, but I don't know when this is from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if
But
they
I mean, if
continue
you
to buy
go
back
through the
shares,
transactions, if you go through all the transactions on that website, you can figure that out.
yeah, I'm just going to their most recent thing on their webpage.
And they had some bigger block buys in September and November, I think. And then just after, they are buying like as much as they can, or are allowed to every day.
Yeah, I mean, it bodes very well.
Compared to the other companies where management is a bit gone, this seems like they are doing something right at least.
Yeah, it says following the above transactions, Grantier will have almost exactly 32 million shares issued and
Yeah.
outstanding.
But
So-
that's only since September, October that they have managed to buy all those shares. So it's a lot in a short time.
Well, this is I believe this is just the transaction dates from January 12th to the 18th.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
So and they still have a lot they can go, like Stavos is saying. I mean, it said it will expire in November of the 2024 or earlier if the 10% share maximum is reached, but it could retire up to 3 million shares. So
He's saying that.
what was Stavos saying that would bring it down to?
Sorry?
Oh, he just said 32.06. I could have just read what he was saying. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I saw that too. But he's also saying 3.7% in total in 2.5 months. And that's impressive.
No, it is. It's a great sign for management. Honestly, I know some people prefer dividends, but that's a lot of shares being bought back.
Yeah.
These metrics could drastically improve going forward.
Yeah. No, so I have actually considered adding if it goes close to my the average that I already have, or which is around here. But I'm not sure if I'm going to do it because I'm also looking for other companies to expand the portfolio a bit. So I'm not sure. I haven't made up my mind yet. But definitely interesting to me.
Yeah, I might start adding this to my watch list. This is interesting to me here at these prices.
Yeah. I talked a little bit. There was a guy watching the stream, Robert, and he suggested that I should look at Bry. And I know you and I have been talking about Bry before. I have them in the watch list. And we compared a bit with Ring Energy and GTE. He said that he liked Bry better than GTE, but I'm obviously, my pick has been GTE, and I think when it has continued to fall like here, it's like I said, I'm tempted to add.
Yeah, this is interesting.
I just got a call from Roberto Hawkins, and in his profile picture there's a woman. Do you know about this guy?
Who?
Roberto Hawkins. He just called me on WhatsApp. Never heard of the guy before.
Oh, I would answer.
Yeah, and the profile pic was a lady.
I'm sure he's probably going to offer you some great financial advice.
Yeah, that's maybe it's a viewer from the stream.
Yeah, you consider yourself fortunate.
Yeah, okay. We also pulled up CIX. You want to move to them?
Yeah, sure.
Because that was something you had looked at yesterday. Was that right?
I didn't actually get a chance. It had just pulled up on my screener, on my dashboard, like tracking. So I actually haven't looked at them at all. I have looked at them in the past, I should say. I just something caught my eye with them, some metric or something, I'm sure.
Yeah, the metrics looks a bit good, and the market cap. The chart looks very good. Or there has been a big drop now though.
Maybe that's why. Maybe things were looking good, and all of a sudden I saw a drop or something.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna read the description. COP-X International engaged in the manufacture of security products used in recreational transportation, postal office, and institutional furniture, cabinetry, tool storage, healthcare, and variety of other industries. So it's in the furniture industry and consumer goods, right?
Yeah, mine states it a little differently. It's more like in terms of like security for different things.
Yeah. Okay.
But and it also mine says that it has its marine component segment manufactures and distributes wake enhancement systems, stainless steel exhaust components, gauges, throttle controls, stuff for ski, wakeboarding boats, performance boats. So it sounds like it's got a few parts to the business.
Yeah. It says that in mine too. I just it was too many words for me.
All right, well that works too.
But it shows up as safe in my sheet.
Yeah, it looks like it has a clean balance sheet for sure. No debt that I see.
No. It's above the book value. And they are generating a little bit of cash at least. Free cash flow too.
November 2nd, EPS of 47 cents.
Yeah. And they pay a dividend. Do you have that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
It's not too shabby either.
No. I'm just curious to see their assets. Do they
Looks like
own
it's
land and
looks like
buildings?
it's slowly growing too.
Sorry? Slowly growing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. But maybe a little bit too slow, or what do you think about it?
Well, it's a small company, but maybe because of what they're in, like they don't need, like just to grow. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Do you have
The
that
only
they
thing,
have net excess cash?
oh, they got cash. They definitely have
Yeah.
cash.
Yeah.
How's CapEx been for them? Not too crazy.
No,
Last year they
almost
spent
nothing.
a decent amount, it looks like.
So they generate the free cash flow when the times are good here.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely looks good. But yeah, like you said, like it's a slow grower. It's not like anything super impressive, but they do it with free cash flow. They're not taking debt on. They're not diluting shareholders.
I saw high ownership, like almost 90%. Is this a family company or something?
Probably then.
Oh, there's Simmons Family Trust. They own Lisa K. Simmons and Harold Simmons.
Wow, they own a lot of the shares. That's probably why it
They,
moves around. The float's only like 15 million shares or
yeah, they
1.5
own
million shares.
87.5%.
Well, that bodes well. I mean, that dividend ain't going anywhere then if they're making that much money off the dividend.
Yeah. But I must say though, what do you think about the price compared to all the things we are looking at here?
It's pricey, but it's pricey
Yeah.
because it's stable. I mean, I don't think this is our kind of company unless this gets cheap. But
Yeah.
it's more of a good company. Like this is a well-run business.
Yeah. If you want that
And
dividend.
even if I look back historically, it always basically generates free cash flow.
Yeah.
It always has earnings. Always, it's always paid a dividend. I mean, I'm going back 10 years. I don't know about before that, but
And like you said, almost no debt also historically.
yeah, I just want to pull up their most recent financial report. But I mean, talk about a really stable business.
Yeah. And I see they have some land on the balance sheet, so they have some properties.
Yes, I see that too now you're saying that. They must own all their property then, because they have no leases, they have no
Yeah,
debt. I mean,
nothing.
it's talk about a clean balance sheet.
Yeah.
How
So I
often you
guess
see how often do you see this in the companies me and you are looking
no,
at?
not often. I'm gonna check the. I'm gonna check their website to read about these Siemens people. I'm probably not in the right one.
Honestly, it looks like
Okay.
they are slowly just kind of moving around in the business, and the extra money that they have, they just kind of pay out as a dividend.
Yeah.
Um, I can see why the price is about where it's at now. Now, I'm not. This would obviously go into my more of a long term holding one, and if you're looking at it at a long term holding, and they're going to continue to pay out $1, um, this is a great company to own.
Yeah. If you look at
Not
the
saying.
chart,
Yeah, I have looked at the chart.
it doesn't move so much. Like we have, this is what we are saying, right? The moves are not so drastic, and it's like right now it's kind of in the middle between the 52-week low and 52-week high.
Yeah, I would think the thing that's really going to affect a stock like this, that's not, you got nothing to lose. It's going to hold book value no matter what and pay a premium to it because it's generating cash flow and it's slowly growing. So it's going to continue to slowly grow, and probably as long as margins, how are margins stayed? Let me just look at that because that's important.
They
Margins
seem
have
stable.
came pretty stable. I mean, they're down a little bit, but I mean, they've been just shy of 20% on an EBITDA basis. And for net income, it's actually stayed pretty stable, just about like around 11, 12, 13%. So with that all being said, the only thing that, in my opinion, would drastically change this is if competitors start to fight them, or how the dividend's paid. And if the dividend continues to kind of increase here, you're going to see these spikes on the chart because, think about it. If you're a 10-year holder, let's say you're looking at holding this for forever, and you think the company is going to stay on the same stable grounds, in 10 years, let's say you're getting $1 back per share. It's just going to keep growing up by that. And if the dividend increases, you'll see the stock price go up, because it's worth more.
Yeah.
At least that's how I would value it.
Yeah. With these family-owned companies, sometimes you see stuff like this, very well driven, and they obviously they care a lot about the company. But other times, what is your stand on that? Like sometimes I think family-owned can be a bit negative as well, but normally I like to see it a bit, but then you need something more as well, of course. But what do you think about that when it's such a high ownership?
Well, I think in this case where they hold so much of it, hold on, I'm just adjusting some of my stuff here. I think it's bullish. I think this is a well-run family business. I think they're doing what they can. Obviously, they're aligned with shareholders. They own 87%.
Yeah.
I saw institutions own another 7%. So retail is all that's left, which only leaves what, like 500,000 shares. I mean, it's not much.
No.
So it doesn't take much to probably drive the stock price up.
No, it's very little volume here.
But no, I would say in this case, if it's the same family running it and they've been running it like this, as long as whoever steps up, from generation to generation's part of the business and doing a good job, this looks good.
Yeah. but a little bit different than our laughing stock style.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's not. It's not. You're not probably going to see crazy. I mean, you know, when this hits lows and highs, yeah, you might be able to trade it
Yeah.
and use technicals if that's more your thing.
Yeah.
But
well, we didn't even check it. It's 10% down yesterday. Did you check the news?
I didn't see if there
seems
was
like
any
nothing.
news.
So maybe it's just like what you said, and that it doesn't take much to move the price.
Yeah, I think if someone kind of sells in or out of things, depending on what, you know, dividend, that kind of thing. Because, you know, trailing 12 months I have for 2022 is that the dividend was 270. I don't know if that was a
same.
special dividend. It might have been a special dividend on top of the regular 70 cents that they were giving at the time. But if institutional investors hopped in for that and now they're hopping back out because it's now it's at $1, you know, that could be why the price moved. That would be my guess.
Yeah, it seems like a special dividend.
I get a fair valuation right now at $27 for this kind of a company.
Yeah, I have the same number in mind on this one, 27.85. I get. Which is close to where we are. Like for me, you see the 52-week low is 16.25. So if it drops down to, like, you know, 15, this would maybe even for the laughing stock portfolio be interesting.
If it got cheap, you know, this is a well-run business. I mean, look at even during COVID years, wasn't even touched.
Yeah.
So it's actually very impressive. It's what it is.
Yeah.
Like almost.
Let's check.
It's almost.
Let's check who these people are. Maybe Harold C. Simmons. Oh, he doesn't. He's dead.
Well, that's what I said. I'm sure that it's a trust, right? So the family's taken over.
Okay. Texas billionaire.
But yeah, I mean, this is just a good company.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, it's kind of a slow grower, but you know, this year's been productive, up and down quite a bit actually.
Seems like a bit of the
I did
character
price
that
around 18.
Harold guy. Yeah, what do you think? Should we move on to SATS? I saw they were down big yesterday.
Which one?
SATS, SATS.
Yeah, I gotcha.
They had a 10% drop.
You gotta go around 9 o'clock, so this will probably be the last one I go through with you. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. I think you pulled these up on Tuesday, and I've done research on them in the past too, on a stream.
Yeah, it wasn't long ago I had pulled them up.
Another drop now. If you look at the chart, it has been a bit crazy since November.
Yeah, I'm just trying to acclimate myself on. I know I just looked at this one, so I'm just trying to hop back into where we're at here.
Yeah, bit high on in the market cap.
They merged with Dish. That was the thing, right? That was the big news. But I still. I'm just trying to figure out.
There has been some commentary from JP Morgan. That was like 3 days ago. But yeah, it doesn't look too bad on the fundamentals.
Yeah.
They've been buying back. How does the merger affect like the share count and all that in the sheets?
I think they bought Dish with shares, so the shares, the number will go up.
Yeah, okay.
Because I think when I valued it with the share change, let me see what I had. I had it at $11 with the share change.
Okay.
Now I know with them being able to get more access to leverage, they might be okay. But I think when did I say the debt was due? That was one of my concerns. They're due in 26. The notes are.
Yeah.
And I think I had seen where they're trading. I'm pulling up FINRA right now just to see where they were trading at.
Did you find them on FINRA?
No, this is EchoStar, or this is Hughes, not. Do they own Hughes? Is it the same thing or no? Yes, they do. Okay, so these are the bonds. Okay. I'm just trying to find like the right maturity date. 26.
They have a few there. Do this one.
I mean, they last traded at 105, so they're trading fine. They're stable as anything.
Yeah.
So there's no worry about the debt. I mean, they do have cash. They have a lot of cash that they're sitting on.
They show up as safe in my sheet.
Mine says levered, but it doesn't issue any shares.
Okay. But
And that's only because cash flow for everything going on compared to the net common over. But that's so. I mean, they have debt, but obviously the debt's covered, so it doesn't really matter.
no, exactly. But they do generate if you compare to the share price, the cash flow generation here is not bad.
Yeah, but just remember that's down because of the extra shares.
True. And when will we see that then in the on the next quarter filing?
Yeah, I don't know if you go to Yahoo, does it say the current updated share count? I think that's what I might have done. It says implied shared outstanding right now is 270. So obviously
which
a lot
is a
more than
lot
84.
higher.
But that's because I think all the note. Well, that's the notes convertible, right?
What is 6?
Because I think that's what they ended up giving Dish was.
Yeah, of all yeah, it is.
Well, Dish was done with giving shares, but then I believe those notes are convertible too.
It says implied shares outstanding of common equity, assuming the conversion of all convertible subsidiaries equity into common.
Yeah, it says the Dish convertible notes. EchoStar aims to material push out looming maturities and obviously reduce interest costs. It said, so post restructuring, the combined company should still shoulders high leverage, but has likely mitigated near-term liquidity risks from prior Dish debt maturities. However, until achieving meaningful revenue growth from synergies behind the integration, leverage constraints may continue limiting financial flexibility for aggressive investments. So we'll have to kind of see what they can do from here.
Yeah.
But I mean, they do take a lot on in terms of assets from Dish. So I mean, there's a lot that they can do with these things. It's just seeing what they.
They were a little bit like people are a bit bored in the comments of the news that it's not really going anywhere, just like the same stuff.
Yeah, I'm reading what Stabo said.
Is Davos there?
Yeah, he said if they get off successful monetizations that display the underlying value of the assets, significantly delever the company, push out maturities, the stock can go dramatically higher. So everything we were just talking about, was so obvious. I mean, that's all, it's like, duh, if the company does good things, they'd get good stock prices. Okay. Not saying Stables is just saying, like, he's saying the same thing, but opportunity might be to wait for one or both of these two specific outcomes where you can buy the stock at a premium to current, but have it keep going up. So meanwhile, risk is real for now, especially if the current lenders sue them, but they're clearly in a better situation than when it was two separate companies. So it sounds like the merger is obviously beneficial, definitely saved Dish, but where it goes from here, Stavos he's someone that probably would buy in as stuff starts to go up, where you and I, we have to be able to predict a pretty solid upside.
Yeah. Bit weird that they don't have a dividend.
I don't think they have cash to pay a dividend. They're worried about liquidity and debt. I don't think they should pay a dividend.
I just, I forgot it's because it shows up as safe.
Yeah, but just remember, all these numbers are going to change pretty drastically. Once that share accounts gets adjusted, and depending on what happens with the notes and the maturity dates.
Yeah. This is one I have in the tracker and been having it for a while, but it's not interesting right here, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think just even as that article had said, and kind of what Stavos was saying is just well, we're gonna have to wait to see. I mean, if you want to get in now, who knows? Like I wouldn't be getting in now. This is definitely a sideline investment. Obviously, if you had gotten in after the big sell off, and then all of a sudden, obviously a talk of merger, that obviously caused a huge increase. And this could continue to keep going up if they can figure out the maturity dates and restructure stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the meantime, just nothing's for sure,
No, and then also when you compare it to other companies that we have talked about today only, but many others also, I feel like there's opportunity elsewhere.
Right.
I wish I had more money. I can just buy what I want.
Well, that's part of trying to stay nimble and getting out of things.
When we in 10 years time we will launch Laughing Stock 2.0, and then you will see us in a different environment, hopefully for the better.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about it. It's just a time thing.
Yeah.
But I just think I think if you do your due diligence in this, like, small cap environment, I just find it hard to fail. I mean, not I know it sounds like stupidly probably cocky, but like there's just so many opportunities in this section.
Yeah,
I find.
it is.
For like really, really solid returns. And like I said, you can't do this for forever. It won't take long until, your money supply starts to, you're not going to be able to take like the large positions like I do, because you won't be as nimble. But But so far, like I said, it's been working out. Like I was saying, my current return on a 3-year average is also 40%. So I'm right behind Courage. You know, yeah, I think he was at like 46% or something. And I've
Yeah.
done a lot of dumb things too in these first few years. My returns could have been much better. So
Yeah.
we'll you know, but this is why I try and hold. I try and hold cash, and this is why once I start to hit my 50% mark, I start to get out of things. So I open up cash for my next investment. You know,
Yeah.
you can argue that's dumb or not, but you know, once I start to crunch out of something, I get some free cash available in case there's something I see, and that way, if the winner continues to run, I let it keep running. You know,
Yeah.
capture as much as I can of the upside move.
It's definitely interesting the what has happened in the beginning of 2024. I think, and I'm very excited actually to see where a couple of actually the one we have talked about today, because we are involved in them. How it will turn out, and there are some short-term catalysts that can be that can change things a lot. I think, especially in Alto, but also in GTE. Maybe BNED is a bit further out in the year in terms of things that can happen, but all of a sudden you get surprised.
Yeah, no, I think it's been an interesting year so far. Like
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'm pretty positive about the year so far. I think there's we'll see. We'll see what happens as if we go into it. And, you know, I think there's nothing more bullish than possibly having interest rates start to come back down.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully, obviously, always the worry is we enter into a recession. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like nowadays, like they'll just they'll pay for stuff and get rid of the asset. They'll print money. You know, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Whether that's really really stupid or not, I'm not. You know, I don't have to comment on that, but that seems to be what they do.
Yeah.
At least the States. I know your country's different, but
Yeah, but you know, that's where we majority deal in is in the States. So I'm just happy that I can have a account that allows me to also invest in foreign companies. But
yeah, right.
the majority of the focus is definitely in your country and maybe Canada.
Yeah, well, and my issue, and the only reason I'm really not looking at some like the more emerging market stuff, which I'm sure there's excellent companies to be looking at in those, is just me getting a hold of the data.
Yeah.
You know,
I had a
sadly.
company on Thursday that I didn't know, and I saw it was from India, and my numbers were just, I can't trust my numbers, so then it's very hard. I'm just not interested, even if you miss out. Too hard.
I mean, I always try and convert everything into US dollars, but you know.
Yeah. Have you seen though? Was it Barry on one of those websites where they post the research? It's still up, I think. Value Investor Club or something like that. He was doing like a Mexican company and or a South American company, and it turned out very successful. So, and he deals in China too, right? China and Japan.
Oh, I'm sure he's you know, that guy. Burry's all over the place. He's looking for opportunities everywhere. I mean,
yeah. Damn birds.
Yeah, I mean that guy. Talk about just having a natural passion for finding things.
The more I think about and read about him, the more impressed I get. He's the way he speaks is so complicated too, but it's not that he speaks complicated, but he speaks about complicated things, and he figured it out on his own. It's very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, but he just understands it to a different degree than probably most people do. But
yeah,
but that's why he's who he is and why he's successful at what he does.
Yeah. for sure.
Yeah, I don't need to be Burry. Just, even if I can get some stable returns here, that's all I'm looking for. I'm just looking
Yeah.
to outperform, and I don't need to do it by much to be successful.
No.
We're still young. That's the other thing too is we got a long runway to keep going here, and
Yeah. Stick to
like I
it, I
said,
think, and we had some predictions for the year around one of the streams in New Year, and the predictions was very good, you know.
Yeah. So far, like I said, I'm very happy with the year so far. It's started off way better than I could have imagined. You never know
Yeah.
what's coming. So
No. And
take it
that's
one thing
also,
at a time.
I feel like you said earlier, you said maybe people think it's stupid to take the gains if you have a 50%, but it's also valuable to take them when you have them.
Yeah, well, and like I said, that's kind of the way everybody. I always hear these questions about like when to sell, and obviously you have the questions when you start investing, but just like if you're just averaging into these things and averaging out over time, you start to lock in gains, you start to limit losses, and doing that successfully over time. Our case said the same thing. It's like you're just trying to find a strategy that over time is repeatable and generates gains. And if you can find a way that works for you, so far these numbers have been working for me. It's taken me a second to get to a point like this where I feel comfortable in doing it like this, but once you get to the point, it is becoming, a process that works, and you're able to continually find companies that, you're able to profit off of. Then, what else do you need? I mean, this slowly, if you continue to, like I said, even close to these gains, if I continue anything near here, I mean, I'll be able to have financial freedom at a pretty good age. So that's the goal. I think that's everybody's goal in life, is to get the financial freedom. And then from there, it's whatever you want to do with your time.
Yeah. No, for sure.
I just happen to enjoy investing as a hobby, which worked out well for me. I know most people, in the world probably don't care. They don't care about any of this. It doesn't mean they don't enjoy this process, but
No.
you and I, that's part of the process. I enjoy it. And, I don't picture not doing it even as I'm older,
It's like with other things that I'm interested about. It like when you do this, you sit down and then 2-3 hours is just gone like this, quick.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't bother. This is work, but it doesn't bother me to do it. I mean,
no,
I know some people get paid to do this, and good on you guys. This is the side for me, but not that I don't like my normal job. I actually really enjoy my job, but if I had the choice of doing this at some point, I would love to do this. I'd probably keep my other job and just go to like part-time or something like that. Would be my goal,
and that's also when you said like financial freedom and all that stuff. It also allows you to spend more time doing this if you can get enough money to maybe switch your job over to just doing this, so and then you will accelerate, I think.
Exactly.
But it's a process. Baby steps counts. Just like when we started the process to build the sheet, that took a long time too.
Right. Yeah. And oh my God, the first year, just trying to get your head wrapped around stuff, and it's tough. It's tough.
I think I almost broke my computer mouse a couple of times in frustration. Frustration.
Oh my God. Sometimes trying to figure out how Excel worked, and like I was just trying to, and now in hindsight, some of the stuff is so simple, but just when you didn't have the background, I didn't have a background in Excel, and I'm reading through and going back and forth, and I'm trying to, in your head, visualize how you're going to build something like this, and how you would need it to work. And I know I'm not hosting today, but I ended up changing like where my watch list is. I put it over in my database section and just pull it from there, because that's really where it gets updated. And now I just have it as another section. I added like the on deck tab. I added a watch list tab, and I think I'm going to add a great company tab too, because it's already automatically all there. So I don't have to bring it into my other spreadsheet, because I'm like, why am I like, the dashboard is for screening and for tracking. Like that's really all it should be for.
But that's why Yeah, that's some of the stuff that I love now. Like, and I'm by no means a Google spreadsheet expert or anything, but I'm better than I was 2 years ago building this stuff. And now when I see like, oh, this could be beneficial for me, I've found ways to do it, and like it's the same with the investing. You get better and better, and then things that are hard is now easy.
Yeah, well, just you start to know what to look for. You start to be
Yeah,
like, okay, this is good. This matters, and
yeah,
knowing that that's the biggest part because
yeah. And by the
other
way,
than
if
that,
anyone's watching and have questions about building the sheets, we are very open to try our best to help out, because we have gone through that process. But I have to say one thing though. If you do plan on, like, if you want to have these kind of tools, I think the only way to do it is to actually go through that process and build the sheets, because you will understand in a better way how everything is connected and what to look for here and there. And it's like, I think it's important to actually take the time and go through and feel that frustrations and overcome it and build it on your own.
yeah, no, the building process was huge. I mean, I feel like I've accomplished a lot in a very short amount of time understanding finance. But part of that was because when you're building out the spreadsheets and you're trying to figure out how to get the numbers to line up where they are, you have to learn what all those numbers are and what they mean and where they apply. And when you're trying to break down a balance sheet, I'm sure for most people, because I remember the first time I saw balance sheets and cash flow statements, income statements, I got very basic ideas, but when you break down all the little parts of it, it's kind of hard to understand that. But then all of a sudden
Yeah.
you build out these sheets where all those numbers are getting used in different places, and it all starts to make sense in your head on what all those things mean. I understand why they say finance is its own language, because it is.
Oh yeah.
And as you're able to just look at those numbers and understand, it gives you this picture of what the company's doing. And
Yeah.
for the average Joe, that means nothing to them. But to anybody who cares about really investing in any kind of valuation, I mean, the only people it probably doesn't matter at all to are traders. But they're doing
Yeah.
their own thing with technicals. They're learning more about psychology and all that, which is
Yeah.
it's their own thing. But I think having a wide array of tools to use and a wide array of knowledge to use is only benefits you. The more you know, the more informed each decision you make is.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm reading through another valuation book right now. And do I need to probably read through it to the level of degree that I am? No, but I want to learn it just that much better. And if I read through a whole textbook and it takes me, a few weeks and it's hundreds of pages with really dense information, I don't care. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. And if I only take a few things from it, it's a few things I know now that I didn't know before.
And those can end up making changes, make changes to the sheet to benefit you. Just a little bit of information that you didn't have previously makes you think a bit different about things,
Right. And, with my valuation calculator too, I initially had taken that idea from RK's valuation style and how he adjusts it. But then there's all kinds of companies, like, for instance, we were looking at CIX. I learned I should probably calculate the dividend in there. I should adjust what I value. And for instance, with like the merger with Dish, knowing how to adjust share count and making sure that those numbers add up, and then accounting more for leverage and foreign risk, all those numbers should be put into your valuation. And without, initially when I first would have started this kind of stuff, I wouldn't have taken any of that into account, because I would have known how important it is to, or at least to understand that that's what the rest of the market's doing. Whether I think you need to or not, sure, that's your own personal opinion. But it's good to know that that's what others are thinking and others might be doing. Same with technical analysis. It's good to know what those guys are thinking, regardless of if I'm really using it or not.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think if you do go through all this process, you will also end up liking the actual process, which is very important, because I don't think you will succeed much if you don't sit down and look at this like daily, even if you have a job already.
Right.
I can't do it every day, but I try to. But I do it almost every day. But I think that's important to keep track on things and just look for new things, add new things, look for the development, and that's easy. Like we said, it's easy when you start to like the process.
Right.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it for today.
Me and Mr. Toad, we're going to head out on our fantastical adventure.
Yeah.
See everybody. I'll be back on Tuesday.
You do one on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Good. And I will do mine on Thursday, and then we are together again in a week's time. And hopefully there has been some development. I know just before we end it here, I know that Justin has said in terms of Alto that he's hoping for like an update in January. So I mean, it's 20th of January today, so we're getting close to February now. So
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that possibly are moving. It's an interesting time. I find like every day there's something I'm looking at and kind of delving into, where there was periods of time I remember last year where I'd look at like 10 companies and just nothing was really catching my eye. It was a lot of time spent without feeling like you were getting those returns. And I know it's going to be cyclical like that, where there's times where I'm really interested and other times where I just can't seem to get too interested in something. So
yeah,
it's part of it.
Yeah. Okay, so in a week's time, by the way, everyone, thanks for subscribing to the channel. We have 19 subscribers now. But Dane, do you think we reach 20 in one more week?
Yeah, we'll have to do something crazy on the stream when we hit 20. So
yeah,
subscribe for that 20th one.
All right, I'm sure we can think of something.
Yeah, and just one last note here before we go, just to what Johnny is saying here too. If anyone ever does get interested in wanting to build the spreadsheets and that, I know we've said this, but we would definitely help you with the process. People have asked, can you take the spreadsheets from us?
Yeah.
For two reasons. Like we said, I think that's a bad idea. Number one, there's things that I still have to do with mine. It's not like perfect. It's, like I said, I could go through and make things even more, automated. But it honestly, the work to put into the automation versus me just doing what I'm doing now, it's not going to outweigh itself. And on top of that, you need to have all my services. You have to pay for all these different things. So it's not cheap. I'll say that. Like, it's not cheap. You kind of have to be in a position. I'm very fortunate to be able to afford these things currently, but I know that's not everyone's position. So and also you and me, we know the flaws of the sheets, where the sections that we are not trusting 100%, and if we start to give it away and people don't know about the same things, they might misread the results and everything. So I can't go good for that anyone else uses this in like a correct way, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And there's and to that point too, there's so much nuance that goes into it. There was so much work done learning from RK's streams on how to build the and RK did a great job. Like I said, I know it's really those first few videos that he put out, but it's more similar so far to what our style's been, just because we haven't gotten dialed into a company quite like GameStop ever was. I mean, there is a few that have been dialed into similarly, but not in terms of having a big group of public to come on and actually, conversate about a stock like that. But in those initial ones, he did talk about his strategy, and it has affected the way I think of things. And knowing that he was successful in what he was doing, that's why I held it to such a high regard. And to everybody who just thinks that he was a nonsense investor who got lucky with GameStop, I think you're just as sorely mistaken as all the other funds who were shorting GameStop and how little they looked at the bigger picture. I think people they tend to kind of get locked in their ways, and if you're not able to adapt and you're not able to improve upon your process, then you're going to fall behind, and that's where people who even are super successful can kind of run into problems. And I think he made a really great point at one time to say that as an investor, you're always growing and you're learning and you should always try new things. And I've thought that way about other things in life, just in general. I think that's why the whole idea of it appealed to me. So in learning this, it's definitely changed me as a person, and I've gotten better, and I hope to continue to improve. I think I'm hoping that over time, if someone tunes into this stream, that this will be a historical representation of us going from being relatively small investors to watching a process that grew into something more. And so far, I think we're on that path. I think it takes a lot of time and work, and I hope someone's able to tune in for the ride. If not, we're doing this all for our own entertainment, and it doesn't matter. But
No.
we'll see. Going forward what happens.
And we are very appreciative. We understand that this is time consuming. We are very appreciative of everyone who tunes in. And just now, like I told you, we have 19 subscribers, and I know that's not a lot, but for us it is a lot because we have only done this for like a month or so. And I didn't believe that we would have 20 so quick, to be honest. But
I had zero expectations. I mean, I've said it before, but I wasn't really planning ever on streaming this. This was just my own personal project. And if it wasn't for you, Johnny, I don't think I would have ever gotten to a point where I was like, yeah, all right, we can try and stream it and pull off kind of something similar in vein. I think if RK was still here, I wouldn't even consider doing this. But the fact that I know he's taken, a back seat and he's at his point where he's going to enjoy life and do his own things, I don't blame the guy.
no.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes.
We will see where it goes.
The stream's its own interesting thing.
Yeah, and some people have used the chat lately, which is something we appreciate. And if you watch this as a recording, feel free to write us a comment, and we will reply as best as we can.
Yeah.
All right,
guys. Enjoy your weekend,
the
John.
rest of your weekend then.
Go Bills.
Oh yeah, that's tomorrow.
Yeah, games tomorrow. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah. Take you need to beat that what is his name, Casey?
Yeah. Kincaid's gonna steal. This is my projection. Kincaid will steal Swift from Kelsey. Sorry, guy.
Okay.
All right, man. See ya.
That's it. Bye.
See you, everybody.